this.
Perfect, Andy. Not like that. G'day, how are you? And welcome to another Campfire Live. Today I have with me Andy Bryce, EFT Master over in London. I've got Heather Joy Bassett. Heather's a speaker, world champion lacrosse athlete, and a proud grandmother down there in Melbourne. And over there in Newcastle, I've got Thomas Graham, an Aboriginal man, a Christian, and co-host of Rima FM Newcastle. Thank you very much for joining me today, guys.
G'day.
So this is a bit of a different format to our normal format because normally we pre-record. Today is completely live, so we can open up questions to everybody, it is what it is. We fail forward, bits and pieces. One of the main reasons that we are going live at the minute is headspace. And I'm currently working through a few things with clients at the moment. And the most valuable real estate we have is our headspace. Bar none. We're all on that page. We're here to help everybody work with that headspace. So in tonight's conversation, I'm going to start the conversation with a question from Nicole Kate that I'm very, very grateful Nicole's asked the question. And the question is, Nicole Kate has asked, I'm finding it hard as a single person right now. Do you have any suggestions? If it's all right with you, I'm actually going to jump over to Thomas, if that's all right.
Throw me in the deep end. Awesome.
I'm going to throw you straight in the deep end. And it is what it is. You've just been hit with the question.
I think there's no cookie cutter way. And I don't want to portray that there's a cookie cutter way. I think you've got to find what brings happiness to yourself, whether that's doing something for your neighbor or going for essential exercise around the beach or something that you look forward to in a day. That could be 30 minutes, could be an hour, it could be more than that. But for me, these kind of live streams are my isolation drug, really. So yeah, I don't think there's a perfect answer for that question, but I think we just got to find out what you love to do and just do that. Compromise a little bit with the isolation and stuff like that that's going on, but yeah, I think that would be my answer.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Andy?
Well, it just reminds me of my my long-term definition of there's two kinds of relationships. One is like an A, where people lean on each other, and if you it's sort of codependent. If you take the bond away, they collapse. Or an H, which is basically if you take the bond away, you have two independent eyes. And I think if you're going to be in a relationship, the best way to come to it is being that independent self and sure of yourself and caring about yourself. Sometimes that's difficult to get to, but this is sort of an imposed situation where you get to spend the time working on being your best self, which is what you can bring to a relationship when that opens up. I have a client who committed to working on his own issues for a year, and now it's 2 years later. But with all the things that went through, just in the last few weeks, he found an amazing relationship. But he is so different now than he was when we started, and it was his commitment that made him look at all the things that he did in relationship that took away from the relationship, and now he's able to be in it without reservation and condition. It's a unique experience for him too.
Cool. Heather? Sorry, Heather, I can't quite hear you. There we go. That's a bit better.
Yeah, okay. We were unmuting at the same time, so that's pretty cool. So, Nicole, thanks for asking that question, and I honour you for your honesty, saying that you're finding it hard being single. And I know I was there for for a long time, and I covered that being single up and being lonely with all sorts of sabotage stuff. So well done on seeking some help and asking for some help. And I think one of the interesting things to explore is different profile systems, because there's a system called Human Design, and it's a free one. And in there, it talks about there are some people who have single definition, split definition, triple or quadruple definition of energies. And depending on where you are, whether you actually need someone else's energy to connect to your own energy. And I found that really fascinating, because there's all this stuff about being sovereign and being yourself. But if you've got a split, a triple or a quadruple energy, then you're always going to be looking for those other energy centers to help you combine your own. So that's something that if you haven't explored, I'd definitely go and explore different profile systems to understand yourself. And as Andy says, it's a way of connecting back to yourself, understanding yourself more. And then, as we've also heard, just exploring things that you love to do, like what lights you up, spending time, doing some of that stuff.
No, brilliant. I'm sorry to throw that straight at you, Thomas, because I've actually spent a bit of time on this, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot. Like, it's, as a single person, what is it that you could be doing right now? Because you're realizing now that you don't have that physical contact. You don't have that with people, and it's probably hurting a bit. You're probably thinking about past relationships, the things that you miss, and the things that are really close to you. I think it's a good idea to start focusing on those things, because one of the things I learned early on in life, and Mick Hawes was a great part of that, is where focus goes, energy follows. So if you start identifying the things that you actually want in a partner, and you're starting to see the things that you're really missing, write them down, keep notes on it, because if you start focusing, you start researching, you start looking for places that have those certain attributes. Oh yeah, you miss going for walks with someone. So start looking for places on Meetup or something where you can go for walks with new people, meet new people, try new things, And one of the things for me at the moment, I'm very grateful. I live in a street with 5 elderly neighbours that are single, and something I rang Thomas about yesterday, and which I would like to open up, is my neighbours that are single. There's 2 of them that are religious, and they're supported by the church. I'm not religious, but I am forever impressed how the church is supporting these 2 people, whereas the other 3 are just reliant upon themselves. So for me, it's about community, getting around things and actually knowing your community. I do Sunday sessions so that becomes my community, so we can support each other. So at this current point in time, whether if you're religious or not, I would really like to hear Thomas's opinion on this, because it's a real pivot in how a church works in its community. And I'm sure that you've got some advice in this.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the church in a whole in this time has benefited greatly, simply because we've had to no longer respond to what the changes have been. We've had to, we've no longer had to react to the changes. We've responded to the need. And the need is quite real right now. And I think when we become one as a community, despite religion, despite race, despite ethnicity or whatever, our beliefs, it's better off, not just for a community, but for the city that we live in. When our neighbours are connected to one another and they care about simply just the people on the right and the left, everyone's going to be propelled to do that. And so from a religious point of view or a Christian point of view, I think it simply goes to the concept of in the Lord's Prayer, and everyone knows the Lord's Prayer, and it starts off with our Father. It's them 2 words that really scream out oneness, and I think that's one of the key things is our oneness to one another, and that transcends religion and and policies and laws or whatever. It's our oneness. What can I do to help my neighbor and love them for who they are, despite my lifestyle beliefs or despite what I believe? That's when true humanity comes together and unifies well, and people can label that what they want. But let me say this: the church was was designed and is designed for the benefit of its non-members. And when we understand that, when we go out into the community as a church with no agenda but to simply love and to give, just two things, that changes everything. Like, I have the pleasure of being a part of a church that here in Newcastle, Rick Prosser leads, and his community outreach has been like extravagant, and people are starting to talk about the ideal of a greater community. Why? Because there's someone that is willing to lay down the sacrifices. The statistics for the church in Newcastle isn't, unfortunately, but our outreach, our community response to deep community needs is where the church really thrives. And so it's not surprising to me to hear that the two neighbours that you have, Scott, that are part or connected to a church are being supported, because that's just who we are. Like, I'm not trying to religiousise this at all. I'm just trying to get to a point where, okay, this can happen either with or without religion. And I'm a Christian. I love Jesus. Jesus died on the cross. We're about to start Easter, so like it's a big time for the around the world. But this doesn't have to happen with, like, this can happen without religion. This can happen just with you and I looking at our neighbours and going, "Hey, bro," like, or "Hey, mate," like, "What do you want?" Like where can I help you? And so, like Gandhi said it best, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Like, serving others is simply the best way to find yourself. And that could be the answer to Nicole's question too. Like, just helping people, you know?
So in that, I'm just going to go, so as a single male right now that is on your own, you're in isolation, how important is your church community to you right now?
Oh, it's life-changing.
Yeah.
It's a lifeline. To know that I can receive 5 to 10 text messages a day saying that I'm loved isn't discriminative to religion. It's just what people do when we love each other. We encourage. So I get that. I get, like, today I was in the office, which I'm back in the office now, but like, Rick's wife Sue was talking to me about doing any food. Like, it's them ultimate questions. Like, we as a church handed out these little flyers things that provided service to those that are neighbours. You know, it just said, "Hey, this is who I am. These are my contact details. If you need any of the following, like, that's just message me." You know, it's. I'm going to say it's simple because it's not, but it's not hard. Like,
absolutely, and no part of this at the minute is an accurate part of life, because we're about to go through a lot of different changes, so we're going to try a lot of things and do a lot of things. And one of the things I'm going to speak to Andy about now, Andy did a lot of work with men's groups, and his communities were amazing. Andy's one of my great mentors. I'm privileged to have you on here today. But one of the things about that Andy and I do really well, and we talk about a lot, is failing forward. And I think one of the things at the minute, with if you are single, you are at home, try new things, try new options. Andy and I, not that long ago, tried to do our first Facebook Live. It took us 3 days and 15 attempts before we could get it on. There ended up being somebody sitting there on the third night having popcorn watching us in hysterics. Yeah, that's a true story. And
So good.
Yeah, but the thing about it is we can only do this now because we've taken those steps to do that. We are now a part of a gorgeous community. And I'm going to ask Andy to talk about his men's community in Canada, because if you're single right now, find a community, find something. I'm hearing Thomas talk about the church and the support in that. Now I'm going to ask Andy to share his story, please.
Well, just in reference to our valiant efforts to get on Facebook Live, someone once said that anything worth doing is worth doing badly, and so we did, but it seems that it was worth it. Yeah, in 1985, I did a men's weekend, and it turned out I went all the way down to Berkeley, California, and spent virtually 48 hours uninterrupted with 200 men. And it really was life-changing. I've never seen anything resembling it. And it was sort of, well, when I was walking up there, I was thinking, what the hell have I done? Why would I want to spend a weekend with 199 other men? Are you nuts? And Monday morning, I thought, I belong. I had rejected the gender that I was a part of. I wasn't. I mean, I just was an apologist, and what we used to call a snag, a sensitive new age guy. What it turned out is that there was a women's organization and a men's organization, so it wasn't in isolation. And for 10 years, well, actually 12, I was a leader in that organization, loosely based. It was volunteer, but we had small groups of men, and the women's side had their groups. And what I found was just having a small 10 to 12 other men on a regular basis to call me on my bullshit, and to also tell me, well, yeah, you're doing the right thing. They didn't have an agenda as to was I they had no agenda. They had nothing to gain other than being supportive, and it was a tremendous thing. And that there's one of my men right now.
Even that is perfect. At the moment, there's interruptions everywhere in our life, and we're just got to work through them. That is perfect because we're live. There's a dog barking, but that's life at the minute. Everyone's got distractions.
He's protecting us from the postman.
Don't let him deliver any bills. So sorry, I cut you off there.
It's just been a lasting thing. I still think that, we looked at our values but also it was an undeniable way of being, I could not deny that I had been accepted by men as a man. And that has allowed me, I realized that I had judged my father. I was judging other men. Some, those were good men, those were bad men, rather than behaviors. And not only did I forgive my father, I asked for forgiveness for judging him. And for the last 15 years of his life, we were friends. And I was holding his hand when he passed. And not every man or woman gets a chance to have completion with a parent when they leave. And for me, that really reinforced how important it is to have no remorse. You know, they're going, and you're not having regrets. You didn't have to. You didn't. You're not holding things that you should have, could have, would have said. So that's just one of the things. My relationship. Thank you. My relationship with my father changed and I realized how much he had sacrificed for his wife and his children. My mother lived for another 17 years without him. I'm not sure whether she was happier or not, but she was self-contained and just passed a couple of years ago, and I wasn't able to be there because she's 6,000 miles away. Was in Vancouver, and it was a different experience, and I can tell you that having that sense of said everything and dealt with everything and connected with a parent is much better than to have loose ends.
I think you bring up a pretty good point right now. We've actually got time to work on relationships across the board. Like whether you're single, whether you're in a partnership, it doesn't matter. You've got time to work on your relationships. There's nothing that fills your heart better than working on relationships and repairing them. I can tell you that for a fact, because after 30 years, I've just done that with my father. And it took me a long time to have that conversation. I'm forever grateful that I have. And it's still a long road to go down that to sort things out. But I am a stronger person because I have done that. So I take the skills I've learned in that negotiation or discussion into my with my wife. Working on a relationship, being grateful for the scenario will help you with future relationships. So that's another topic for another day for me, because I'm here to listen to everyone else today, not so much talk, but it's a very important thing. So, okay. Well, I'm going to jump on the next question in a moment. I'm just going to ask Heather first, because so far I'm hearing communities are really important. So if you don't mind, Heather, would you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, I totally agree that community is important and family is important. And one of the things nowadays is family doesn't necessarily look like your bloodline. And that's an extraordinary thing, that you can create community and you can create family that's so different from the nuclear family that we had, that many of us grew up. And again, I know there's different generations here between us, that were different from the generations that I grew up with. So a lot of people talk of family and said they're not related via bloodline. But if you go to that relationship, I heard this once and it made lots of sense to me. There's 5 stages of relationships. So we're talking about working on relationships, and stage 1 is where you meet someone. This can be in business or in your love life or friends. But the first stage, you meet someone and you tick all the boxes, like, yep, to this person, yes, to this person, yes, to this person. Then you do some planning. And then the third stage is disillusionment. And it's literally where you untick all the boxes that you ticked at the start.
Yep.
And then most people go from stage 3, they run back and do stage 1, 2, and do 3 again, and then exit the relationship and keep doing that. And so to recognise that there are 5 stages of relationship, and the third stage is where you have the opportunity to really stop and do that reflection stuff, and then look at why you're unticking boxes, really look at what's going on, and then you can move forward without running away. And that moving forward may be side by side together in different directions,
yep.
But it's still together in a way. And then if you stay and work long enough, then you can go to stage 5, which is where you create a legacy. So a lot of people stay also, if they don't run at stage 3 is where they stay in relationships where people are really bitter and nasty. And everyone's like, what are you doing together? Like, why don't you just go that way and that way? So yeah, it's a fun thing to play with. Where am I at? Stage 3 of disillusionment. So anyone relating to that, great time to see if you can tick the boxes or why you've unticked them.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think that there actually pairs into where am I here? The people that are stuck in isolation on their own with no family or friends, and there is a lot of that out there, and I think this now more than ever is a time. I'm just going to pop that down because I want to see everybody's face. So I'm working through my banners and I'm going to hide. Okay, so this is something that I feel is really important at the minute, because the one thing that I'm hearing from the three of you is the community, finding communities, finding places where you fit. You have to know yourself. So Thomas has got the church, Andy had the men's groups. Heather, I'm looking forward to knowing more about yours. But I think right now, more than anything, people who are in isolation and on their own, you've never had a better time to get to know yourself. You never had a better time to go and be a part of groups without physically having to be there. You can go to all these different groups online, get to know people. I know myself, the hardest things in life and the things that take the slowest amount of time to get to the core have always been the strongest things in my life. We get to build relationships now based upon getting to know each other. So I'm trying to work as hard as I can to get on for people that want to know about partners. So does anyone want to take over from here for me?
Yeah, actually,
I think one of you two should.
Yep.
Sorry, repeat that bit. You want to know?
So I want to know what advice you've got for people that are in isolation, that don't have a friend network and don't have a family network around them. I want to know what it is that people can do.
I think the question, and I'll go back to, and I'm going to look at it at a church perspective here. As I said before, that the church has benefited greatly over and out of this situation. There's no, for a person that's in isolation, that doesn't have any family or friends, and it's heartbreaking. And I sincerely hope that you find a way to keep going to that person. But you can stumble across so many positive things now on social media, Instagram. From a church point of view, I'm so frustrated that I followed so many church profiles because every second thing is something about the church. And it's always producing a positive message. It's always producing an uplifting, or it's always pointing to a live stream or an event online that can help you, or you can visit. Now, if that's something, if there's some sort of kind of pride or something, some energy blocking you from that, you can be comfortable to look at that live stream without necessarily getting rebuttal or getting connected, or you can generally go into that live stream, watch as much as you want, and then change platform, whether you go from Instagram or Facebook, or you can look at a different message. I guarantee you, when you start looking for something that you need in your life, you'll find it. And whether that's more now connecting online like we're doing now, or it's just simply following an Instagram or Facebook page that posts daily encouraging posts or uplifting posts or something along them lines. So like for me right now in this time, the hardest thing is I miss my dad. Like he's gone 9 years this year. But every day I'd love to, as I said with Andy recently on one of the Campfire Project, like I would love to have my family's connection back together in one household, whether it is broken or it's flourishing. Like it's like, yeah, because it's just where I feel that I would redevelop myself, center my life, rebuild my life, and do the things that you guys have said, whether that's saying, hey, Dad, I'm sorry for what's happened. Hey, Mum, I'm sorry for saying that. But let's work together to spend quality time together. So,
yeah, beautiful. Heather?
Lots of thoughts and emotions going with just what's happening between us, let alone the viewers and the comments.
That's accurate for where we're at the minute. We're all like
Pardon?
that. We're all like
Yeah.
that at the minute. We've all got lots of emotions. We've all got lots of things.
Yeah.
So getting clarity on that is great.
And that's the thing, is that there isn't anyone not feeling like that. So many people are feeling so many different emotions and things that they've never, or maybe they've not stopped long enough to actually acknowledge. Often many people have been so busy, because someone put up one of the comments was, how do you not see the red flags?
Yeah.
And when we're very, very busy, ignore the red flags. So, it's an interesting one, because if we're ignoring the red flags because we think we're supporting someone, then it's not really supporting them. It has been my own experience around that. So I know loneliness. Another way to look at loneliness was, there's been some research done on that if you mix sadness and fear, that's when you feel lonely. So one of the interesting things just to explore is, well, what am I sad about, and what am I lonely about? What do I feel sad about, and then what am I scared about? And if you actually separate those two, then do you still have that loneliness feeling? And if you do, that's cool. But it's an interesting way. It's an interesting way to look at it. And there's a woman from Melbourne, and she's set up a movement. And she would just hand out cards, which you can't do so much now, but just, hey, I'd like to chat if you want to chat. Because, again, she was really lonely. And one of the things was just saying that in the community. We're saying, hey, I'm really lonely. And then someone else going, oh, yeah, I'm really lonely. Oh, I'm really lonely. And then realising it's a thing. So even though you feel alone, when you feel lonely, you're not alone in feeling the loneliness. There's a whole bunch of people doing that. So, again, in this time, it's amazing, because you can just Google search anything that you have an interest in and find some groups. And one of the big things is probably worth, if you're feeling lonely, is listening to Brene Brown's TED Talk on vulnerability. It's a really powerful TED Talk, and if you watch that, then you can settle into the power and the strength of being vulnerable and saying, hey, I need some help. I'm lonely. I need some help here.
I love that, because I'm listening to you there, and it's to actually sit there and put your hand up and say I'm lonely is owning your situation.
100%.
Yeah.
You start by owning your situation. You put your hand up and say I'm lonely. You'll be surprised at how many people will come to you, and just owning it. Like it's yeah. So thank you for that, Andy. You got something to jump on with that?
Well, I do. Most of my clients we're working with early childhood issues. We learn how to relate by the relationships we observe and we have with our parents, because the popular thing is you create your own reality. Well, you don't when you're a child. You are in someone else's reality, and you learn to adapt to it. And a lot of my clients have developed the skill sets of determining what is the right thing to do for someone else so that I don't get hurt. But they never got a chance to determine what is right for me. When I ask them, what do you want, where you want to go, they don't know. They don't know how to know. So some of this is, for me, it's like finding out the start point, because putting your hand up and saying I'm lonely will work for people, and other people can't even get to that place. So I know we're in isolation and it is a tough time, but it's also a way of making connections that are less frightening, because relationships are emotional experiences, not mental. You can talk a really good relationship, and then have a crap one, because when you get into actually interacting with another person on that level, it's a different thing than the theory. So this is an opportunity right now to make connections. You don't have to meet them. You don't have to have tea, dinner, or a glass of wine with anyone. You can actually find out what works for you at a safe distance. So if we look at, and another thing is we filter for problems, or we filter for solutions. So if you're looking at isolation as a problem, you're going to see more evidence that is a problem. And for me, there are so many opportunities and options available through this sort of imposed isolation.
We're going to grab you there. Sorry.
Can I follow on one thing that Andy said?
Yep.
Was a lot of people don't know what they desire, what they need, like that stage of not being able to put your hand up, but you don't know. That was me. I got asked, "What do you want? What do you need?" And I was like, absolutely, utterly no idea. So one of the ways to find our way through that, and someone else was talking about this today through mentorship or coaching, is, okay, maybe you just start with the things that you don't want and that you don't like and that you don't need in your life. And that was my starting point, because I had no idea. I had no idea what I needed, desired, wanted.
That's something that, what I found was a developmental stage for teenagers is we define ourselves by what we are not or who we are not. So, you find a lot of teenagers sort of rebellious, but it's a part of finding themselves. And a healthy person actually evolves to a point of choosing and defining themselves by what they are, or what excites them, and what they would choose. So,
not only teenagers, I was in my 50s, so.
Well, I know, that's what I mean. If it's delayed, it should be in a happy way. It would be something done before you were 20. But a lot of people, Heather, are like you, and they don't have. So you have to look for that support. And what happened was you made that decision, and you made it happen.
Yeah, I want to give a massive kudos to you for that, Heather, because I think that's something that's not talked about enough. Is we're always talking about what do we want, what are the goals we want to achieve, and sometimes it's just so hard to get to that. Just start with what you don't want, write all that down, and then what's the opposite of what you don't want? What is the opposite of it? Then you've got a parallel to work for. Actually, that's what I want now. If you're in that negative space, take those negatives, own the negatives, and then work on the positives. So thank you for that. That's awesome. So, sorry, Thomas.
Yeah, can I just say, if you're in that space, just put your hand up, please. Like, there is so many people around you that can and will help you. And in this time, you're either going to be connected one way or another, or you're not. So if all it takes is going like this, hey, anyone out there, can I get some help?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you don't know what it is, but just say, hey, I'm not feeling me, or I'm not being who I normally am. Just sing out, cry out, message someone in the Campfire Project, message someone in your sphere, whether that's your family or whatever. And even if you don't have that, just reach out. I'm happy to speak to people that aren't in my friends list. And this is why I do what I do, because I'm making myself available. Understand that in the midst of my worst time, yes, I had family around me, but it wasn't satisfying the needs that I needed. And the church was that for me. And now my mission is to be that person I needed in that time to someone that actually needs it. So, just put up your hand.
Yeah, I love it. I'm just going to Peter D put up a comment, and it's just going to take over the screen. I'm going to pop it up, so I'm sorry about cutting everyone's head off. So I think it's important. If you're in isolation and you're single, this is an awesome time to work on the things you're not really comfortable with. How many of you feel you would struggle with looking into the eyes of the mirror and saying, I love and approve of myself? We are children in our hearts at times, and I feel we need to hear those words. If we can't tell ourselves, how can we believe in others? I believe others can love us. Great comment, Peter. I mean, it's true, but it's hard to get to that point, you know, for some people, and to find that. Like, for me, everything's about taking action in every aspect of life. I'm going to share a bit of an embarrassing story. You hear me speak quite confidently on here, and I'm talking with people. I had my first radio interview yesterday ever, and I was quite nervous, believe it or not. I didn't, thank you. And I was pacing up and down, and it's not me. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I get on the radio, and I'm so used to engaging with faces and seeing reactions so I can work through things. I couldn't talk. I couldn't get the words out that I wanted to say. I failed so badly. And then the phone dropped out. Shit. But then I'm like, no, I'm going to keep going with this. I need to keep going. So I sent him a text message, call this number, it's Scott. They called me back. They said, we're going to get Scott back on after this. And I've got a very short spell of time to do it. But then I found my groove. And they ended up cutting me off. But you've got to take the action. You've got to get above that fear. You know? And it's like right now, the fear that they're all feeling in different ways. It's going to take action that's going to get us over that. You know? And yeah. So Peter D says it takes practice. So, yeah. So, Andy, you look like you've got something to throw in on that.
I was just thinking about it. In the 80s, I was part of a group that was doing basically art of law of attraction. And we really figured if we visualized well enough, the Mercedes would end up in our driveway while we were sitting on our beds. And so, of course, I didn't get the Mercedes until I actually worked my ass off for it. So it's like visualize and take action. They work together. Right?
Yeah.
That's why I was.
But it's true. You need to take that action before it goes. You can sit here and dream as much as you want. You can dream about that Mercedes. If you don't take the action, you're not going to get it. So sounds like Heather's got something to put on top of that.
No, I'm just laughing at it. Well, no, I'm too busy enjoying. I wasn't thinking forward. I was just enjoying the passion between you all as you were sharing. So,
yeah. But every single one on one of us on the panel has been through difficulties. We only become authorities in our areas because we take action and we work on it and we work on it and we work on it. It's not something that just happens. Relationships, isolation at the minute, we're looking for relationships. We've got to work on it. The best person to work on is yourself. And I'm going to go to something quickly, and I want to hear what everyone's opinion is on this, because there's a gentleman that I hope, Ash, she is. I'm hoping she's watching. My birthday this year, I went and had lunch with two beautiful people, Rich McLean and Ash Johnson, and the single best gift I could give myself on my birthday was to get to know two people I didn't know. Two people that I took a chance on me to come and spend time with me. That gift I gave myself has paid dividends no end. If you want something, go and get to know people. But one part of the joys of the campfire and the things I love the most, no conversation is quick. To get to the good part of a conversation, even tonight, we start off a bit slow, we're getting warmer, we're getting more into the grit. Nothing good comes quick. Take your time, get to know somebody. Right now, you got nothing but time. So take it and use and get to know people. So I'm going to sit back and let you guys throw fuel on that. Thomas.
I I think, and I'm going to bring it back to what you said, Scott, about radio. When you congratulations on your first radio interview. Right? I can vividly remember my first interview too, and now it's been almost 18 months. I've stepped into other roles as a production manager in the Indigenous program. So, like, there's always the beginning. And so, when I first went in to be interviewed, I was heaps nervous. I was so nervous. Even with Alan on the Campfire Project, I was nervous. But the one question that I had, and I told myself, was what if I was a piece of the puzzle that someone was looking for?
Yeah.
And what I had to share could change their life. And that's my whole life, man. Like I've looked at myself in the mirror many times, and it's scary. Like someone said that I've got a beautiful face cream or something on here. Is it has good face cream? Yeah, there you go. But like sometimes when we're in a very vulnerable place, and Heather's thought about this before, but when we're in that place and we're looking at that person in the mirror, it's hard to go and tear our life back and analyze and go through it with a comb. It's hard, but you know what? It's worth it. And when you go out and you do the things that you do and speak to the people that are in your world, and you when you do the things that you love in your life, like it's just a freeing feeling for me. Gandhi, and I know, like, I love Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, and he says, "Where there is love, there is life."
Yeah.
When you stand in front of that mirror, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, or on the odd occasion, a full moon, you know, if you can't find life, you're not loving yourself. And when you love yourself for who you are, despite the imperfections, despite the kinks in the armor, despite the possibility, like the magazine, looking the way the magazine, who cares about magazines? Just look at you and look through the eyes that God has given you, because what is created for you as you is a masterpiece, and you are unique to this world, just as anyone else is unique to this world. And so you do have a plan and purpose for your life. You just got to start to love who you are, and that's the hardest challenge, and it's not easy. It took a lot of time and effort for me to be able to go, yeah, I'm happy with the things that I do, and I love my life. Like, I know I've got improvements to make, but I'm happy. Like, the things in my life that I've done have caused me to sit here with great gratitude and great love for others. So.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm gonna pose a quick question right now, and it's to Andy and Heather. However people see me, I'm not fussed, and I take a lot of what Thomas has said about. I had to learn that I am me and I have value, and I spent up until I was best part of 38 blowing myself apart, probably even closer to 40. And I have value because my story is me. And if I own that and I share that with other people, then it gives someone permission to be themselves. So I'm going to ask Heather and Andy. It doesn't happen overnight, confidence. This is a bit raw and but no matter what in life, are you still always confident you're going to get it right? Heather? I'm serious.
Heather, can I just...
Andy.
Yeah, can I? Well, first of all, I've been told I have a great face for radio. So I think... but what I've discovered, and actually it was through another group in the 80s and 83, what I realized is that we actually bond together through our woundedness much more deeply and quickly than through our success. If you see someone driving by in a Rolls Royce, your heart doesn't open and go, "Oh, I bet he's a wonderful guy." But we often spend a lifetime protecting things that we feel are not good enough, and we're not good enough to share, and we carry these things around. And I watched people, confessing these things, and in spite of the fear of being rejected, and actually being warmly loved, and just connecting with people. And it's been that way for 37 years since. Is that when you stop hiding your brokenness in your terms, you may discover that it's not brokenness, and it opens that place where we actually come together, and we feel more accepted than we could ever imagine. And it certainly happened for me.
Thank you for saying that, because I think that's the truth in life. You got Kenji art, which is the Japanese art where they break things and they fill it with gold. It's our cracks in life. Hey, this is back on. So it's our cracks that actually let the light through. So, it's the
Leonard Cohen line. The crack in the universe is where the light gets in. Yeah.
Absolutely. And our I love perfection doesn't exist. Practice doesn't make perfect. It makes progress. And in your relationships, in finding things, fail forward, because just keep practicing, because you will make progress. You just got to keep going. So, Heather, would you mind jumping in on that one?
Yeah. One of the things I want to say to everyone listening and to everyone on the panel is you matter. You're important. You're enough. And you're worthy. And you are that just because you are.
Yeah.
So, you asked the question about the confidence. I mean, there are some situations that I'm ridiculously confident, and there are some situations where my confidence is zero. And so for those people who can be confident in everything in life, well, good for you. But for me, that's simply not the case. And I can't say that, my confidence rockets up there all the time. I mean, my human experience is very varied. And, I'm prepared to be open and vulnerable and honest about that. I don't sit in a place of joyous, wondrous thing. There are times where I still really doubt myself, but underneath all those stories, then I have this underlying knowing that it will get better, knowing that it's okay, knowing that it doesn't matter what stories I make up, that I'm going to come out the other side of it.
Yeah.
So that's my answer when it comes to confidence.
Some people think being that courageous people don't feel fear, but not true. I think courageous people feel it and do whatever they're committed to doing. And as we've demonstrated, it's possible to fail and improve. So that perfectionist thing, it's just a life stopper. I work with helping people move from perfection to excellence, because there is no perfection, but 91% is excellent.
Yeah,
it's achievable.
Thomas?
I think when we understand that we're going to get knocked down in life, it's inevitable. The way we are looking is our choice. And Les Brown says it this way: if you get knocked down, if you can look up, you can get up. And I think that's another one of my life mottos. But it's just when we look up, we see perspective, and our perspective changes on the situations we're going through, because there's a level of hope and faith that comes with going, yep, I'm gonna show my scars. I'm going to show my vulnerabilities, my flaws, my weaknesses, which is very countercultural in today's world. When we go to that stance, we allow people to genuinely love who we are, and it allows us to genuinely walk in support of one another. Because, like, I know, Andy, you're a pretty good-looking kind of guy, and you're quite old, and you've got the gold hair in the class. You're pretty.
I'm pretty. I'm so pretty.
But
I mean, I'm pretty old. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're very mature. You're like a fine wine that matures over age. But we've all had struggles, and we've all gone through stuff that we wouldn't wish on anyone. But you know what? We've gone through it, and we're better because of it. And so how can I help that person beside me that's dealing with that to get through it just like I did, or if not better, or more excellent than what I did without so many scars or without so many bruises, you know. So
beautiful. Well, believe it or not, we're already at 56 minutes and we're scratching the surface. And I hope that we've answered that a little bit for people. Like, there's no straightforward answer, but the thing that I'm continually hearing inside everybody in here, and I think we'll all agree, is it's vulnerability, owning a situation and taking action are the keys to moving forward and actually working through this isolation. Because putting yourself out there, getting over those bits and pieces, and now's the best time to do it. You've actually got the time to do it. You don't have the excuses of, you know, I've got all this to do, I've got all this to do. Sorry, Heather. Yep.
Well, I just want to honour that not everyone has the time. I mean, there are some people who are working their butts off now, and people in the medical, people in services and things. So a few times we've talked about a lot of people having a lot of time. So for those who flat chat, thank you for doing the stuff out there that the rest of us who have time aren't doing. And I really want to honour you for putting yourselves out there and for being that, because I know people are working their ass off right now. So for those of you doing that who don't have a moment to scratch yourself, well done. So this is more around the people who have more than a moment to scratch themselves.
Yeah. And thank you for that, because that's very true. And that's one of the things I love about Campfire. We'll pull each other up and say, hang on a sec, we need to get that person too. Because, look, today it's about the isolation, and there's so many good things going on. So just on time, I'm going to ask everybody. Sorry, Andy, please come.
I have one thing that I think you also need to have, and that's a sense of humor. To enjoy your life while you're doing all these things, because it's the context that makes it worthwhile. And one of my favorite quotes is G.K. Chesterton's, "Angels can fly because they take themselves lightly." I offer that today in closing.
Cool.
Well, in closing today, and if anyone's ever going to be on the panel, get used to this one. What's your one bit of advice? I want, you've got a minute from everyone. I want one bit of advice, your best bit of advice to people. Start with you, Thomas, and put you right on the spot twice tonight.
Oh, man. 1 minute. All right. In a gentle way, we can change the world and we can shape the world. And that's by extending our arm to the person next to us, or sending an encouraging message to a friend that's in the other state, or what. If it's just dropping off a loaf of bread or a packet of toilet paper to someone that needs it, we can shape the world. We can shape the world, we can grow the world, and we can unify the world. And if there's anyone that is dealing with this isolation that needs help, please cry out. As Heather said, you matter. You are powerful. You are in this time for a reason, and so let us show you the reason why you're in this earth as it is. There's something inside of each and every one of us that is unique and is needed, and this world needs. And so, I think that's a minute up, but yeah.
Perfect. No, perfect. Thank you. Over to you, Andy.
Keep your sense of humor. Remember the angels, because you can fly too, but only if you take yourself lightly. And when we get really serious, we get heavy. When we get panicky or anxious, where our peripheral thinking narrows down to only problems, and we see more of them. So when we can be relaxed, this is my EFT thing, it really helps people relax. So as you relax, you can see more options and more solutions. And I hope you can enjoy your day no matter what's really happening, and look for solutions.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Heather?
Stay in the moment and breathe. Coming back to our breath is our life force. So just take a moment to breathe, come back into your body, and then knowing that you matter, you're important, you're enough, you're worthy, and reach out and tell someone else that. Because if we just keep reminding each other of that same thing, it's amazing to just get those notes, as Thomas was saying, to get that little pop-up, hey, how you doing, miss you, thinking about you, some random people that you haven't even thought of for a while, or those that you're really close to. Just keep reaching out and connecting with people and telling them that you love them.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. On that, reaching out, like if you've identified someone and you feel comfortable with someone on this panel, reach out to them. Like everyone is here to do that. So in closing tonight, I want to share something with someone. I play with everyone. I played baseball as a young fella, and I used to love it. Now, the best baseball batter that has ever played the game had a batting average of 0.3, batting 300, which means every single time, the best batter ever, every time he stepped up to the plate, he was only ever going to get a safe hit 3 out of 10 times. So failure was inevitable for him to be the greatest baseball player ever.
Wow.
So my thing to everybody tonight is grab some teammates, grab yourself a coach, and step up to the plate and have a swing. You're going to miss. You're going to miss.
So good.
You're going to hit. Step up to the plate. We're here for you. All right. On that, everybody's worth it, and I'm so grateful for the panel tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of it. It's a little bit tough life because, there's a few things going wrong. We've got to do things, we muck things up. Perfect. That's how we fail forward. I want to thank you, Heather. Thank you, Thomas. And thank you, Andy, for being part of a great panel. Good night, everybody, and reach out to people if you need us. We're here for you.
Thanks, you. Cheers.
Bye.